So let's start with a question. Do you know anybody who's been diagnosed with, I don't know, motor neurone disease or Parkinson's disease, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, any lifelong health condition who at the time of diagnosis were told, you brought it on yourself, you're kind of to blame? Or after they've been living with that health condition for some time and they start to develop complications, are told, yeah, you kind of brought those on yourself, you didn't look after yourself properly, you're to blame. Yeah, me neither. I don't know anyone who has those stories to tell. It seems that those attitudes are reserved exclusively for people living with diabetes, and I do believe that people with type 2 diabetes actually have it even worse when it comes to being judged and blamed for their health condition. Today we're talking about the blame game in diabetes. It's day 3 of D-Blog Week with thanks to Karen from Bittersweet Diabetes, and this is such a good topic because there is so much blame in diabetes and it's not okay. It's not okay for us at the point of diagnosis to be told it's our own fault, we're to blame. It's not okay after we've been living with diabetes for a period of time and we start to develop complications to be told you didn't look after yourself, you're to blame. That's not okay either. It's actually not okay, although perhaps not surprising, when Trump's budget director says, as he did over the weekend, that doesn't mean we should take care of the person who sits at home, eats poorly and gets diabetes. That's really not okay. It's not okay for me to get into Twitter discussions, arguments, use whichever word you want, with the researcher who I was having a conversation with the other day. He was talking about some research he had done that was published in a journal, and he says, jokes indicate at least a basic understanding of diabetes, some of its causes and its connection to blood sugar. And my response was, I'd argue that jokes add to the considerable stigma associated with diabetes and a complete lack of understanding. It's not okay to blame people living with diabetes for getting it in the first place or for anything that happens after that point. It's really, really not. So what can we do though to address the whole blame issue? Unfortunately, a lot of the blame does come from healthcare professionals at that point of diagnosis and then ongoing as well. And I've tried lots of different things, but actually I think one of the things that works best is to just take it back to basics. So 3 things. 1, say to healthcare professionals, nobody asks to get diabetes. Really. Nobody does anything with the thought, gee, I really hope that doing these things here is going to mean that I get diabetes later down the track. And equally, nobody, when they're diagnosed with diabetes, says, yay, all of those things that I was doing, they've actually resulted in a diabetes diagnosis. That's what I was hoping. And finally, saying that people genuinely want to be healthy. They really do. People with diabetes don't want to be unwell, and we want to be healthy. And even if it seems that we're not really caring about what about our diabetes, we genuinely probably are. We just might not at that particular moment have the ability to do all of the things that you'd like us to be doing to take the best care of our diabetes that we possibly can. It's a relentless condition and it's really boring. So keeping up that momentum and that motivation is tough. Saying those things often do have a really, really good response. I get a really good response from people. So I don't know, maybe there's some things that you can try. And other times they don't. Other times actually I'm flabbergasted by how wrong people can be. When the situation I wanted to mention was I think I've written about this, but we were doing a launch for something, I can't even remember what it was, and we were in a waiting room of a diabetes clinic in a very, very busy tertiary hospital in Sydney. And I was waiting to be called up to give my speech that I had diligently prepared. And as I was sitting there, I was looking around this waiting room, and there on the wall was this very, very big poster about diabetes and feet, and it had just recently been presented at a conference. And amongst all the text were these photographs of amputated toes, foot ulcers, gangrene, just things that were putting me off my breakfast looking at them. Anyway, I got up to do my speech and very professional, and I stopped and I said, actually, before I start, that's not okay. That kind of has to come down. It's a terrible thing for people who are quite possibly sitting in this waiting room for hours as they wait for their name to be called to be looking at. It's not doing anything other than terrifying people. It's certainly not in any way motivating them to take better care of their feet. Anyway, when all the formalities were over, the doctor who ran the clinic came to speak to me, and I genuinely thought she was going to say to me, oh my gosh, we hadn't thought of that. That's really great advice. Thank you. We'll remove it. Yeah, not so much. She said to me, that poster's not there for people like you. You're motivated. You have type 1. That's for people with type 2 who don't care about diabetes and don't look after themselves. I was absolutely stunned. And I reminded her that nobody wants to be unhealthy. No one wants to be unhealthy. When it comes to living with diabetes, we have so much going on, and the last thing we need is to be blamed or told that it's all our fault. We judge ourselves enough. We don't need that coming from everybody else as well. Just some things to think about. Don't blame people, really. A lot of kindness. Kindness is really good. It's underrated. More kindness. Kindness from everybody. That's what's going to make things a lot easier for life with diabetes. Enjoy the rest of D-Blog week. I'm hardly sleeping because I'm trying to get through, you know, however many of these posts there are every day. They're all wonderful. I'm really, really, really looking forward to reading today's posts. Okay, see you later. Bye.